Hey guys, Tracy here with your take on wellness today. It's Tuesday, and I thought what better way to kind of really begin to start to create content and tell a story through the lens of wellness when it comes to our pillars of fuel, movement, and connection, and those 5 supporting branches of nourishment. And I thought a best example that I can give is through 2 environments for me that I am in quite a bit. And I want to really touch on the theme that sometimes a positive environment may not necessarily be a nourishing environment, and then how being able to create, engage, and build those environments that are nourishing when it checks every single box, and how you'll walk away from that positive no matter what, because you're checking every box when it comes to wellness through the lens of our framework here at Hippo Social Club. So here's the 2 examples. I'm going to break it down. I'm going to start with my nourishing environment today. So it's Tuesday morning. I had an awesome connection at a networking this morning in Cedar Park, and it happened to be at Serenity and Cedar Park. Owner is Lisa. If any of you have ever been to this space, you may know why maybe this is going to be a nourishing environment for you. To be honest, total transparency, I don't even like tea, but this is where we're going to speak to nourishment and then aligning yourself in those environments and the physicality of spaces that just make you feel more nourished just simply by being in them. And 2, the people that you surround yourselves with, how they can influence in the most positive ways through just who they are and sharing what they're passionate about. So starting there at the top, I'm going to go through, and this is what you're going to see when I speak to environments. I'm going to speak to 5 nourishment branches. I'm just going to give them my take out of 10, what I feel on a nourishment scale, and then being able to also talk about what perhaps may be missing and how we supplement in these environments. So Serenity in Cedar Park. I love this space. I've shared it with others. The people that I aligned with this morning also on the social side of things, very positive. So here we go from the top, starting with edible. So they at Serenity, where they specialize in loose leaf tea, the owner, Lisa, is going to give you her heart when she shares with you her intentions behind why she opened up this tea shop in Cedar Park. So not only is it loose leaf tea because it's better for our health, less opportunities to put toxins in our bodies, but then beyond that, the intention and the passion, you just feel that the moment you meet Lisa. And so I tried a chai tea today, and then you also get to pick a custom teacup in which you receive it in, and then she'll walk that out and give you some education along the way. But it wasn't necessarily in the tea itself, it was in Lisa. So her sharing her passion and her why of how to be able to share a piece of her journey and how she influences just who she is on her own path in wellness to be able to create a space and ultimately a business that she has built to be able to share her education and wisdom of why maybe drinking tea is essential to positive physical health. So that was the edible branch, and the tea was fantastic. I love the chai. So here we go on the social branch of nourishment today, this morning. The social branch, I told you I was connected in a networking group that was a wellness networking group. This is a newer networking collective that is happening, led by Justin, which I actually have a lot of respect for, and I love what he's doing, and so we're going to be collaborating there. So pulling together people in that room, there's maybe about 15, 20 of us, all aligned in that social branch of nourishment, because we were all there to share and to receive, and being able to see where we can contribute to those communities that we serve and those people that we serve through our business. So that was the social branch. Kinetic, this is where, again, it's a space, it's more of a sitting space, so we didn't get a chance to be nourished in the fact of moving in a way that stimulated our heart rate, elevated our heart rate, and got us moving. We were sitting quite a bit of the time. So on the kinetic branch of nourishment, I'm going to score it a little bit lower. And then on the experiential branch, for me, I checked that box because I just told you, total transparency, I'm not really a tea drinker, but because of who Lisa is and her passion and connecting aligned with her why, I thoroughly enjoyed that tea, and I want to continue to keep coming back, which is a big reason why I'm sharing her today, that I hope someone out there is going to want to visit her space, her business, just based on my experience there with you and sharing that. So that was my experiential. And then on the biophilic, the connection to nature, it wasn't a strip mall, so it wasn't a lot of accessible nature right there. She did have some lighting, some windows that let the natural light in. So again, just by default, that score on the biophilic side is just going to be a little bit lower. But I'd say out of 5, if I were to score this a 0 out of 50, just on the nourishing side of things, where we talk about our framework here through wellness, I would give it a 40 out of 50. And really there, just by default, not a lot of space to move. We packed her place. So that's the only reason why. And so, and then on biophilic, it's just hard. We didn't have accessibility to nature, like just as easy as stepping out the door. But again, talk about a space that I loved being in this morning, super nourishing. So that's going to be your nourishing. And here's your contrast to that. So we talk about environments that may be positive, but not necessarily nourishing in terms of the framework. And I'm going to speak to wrestling. So this weekend, our family is a wrestling family. We live and breathe it. It's what we do as a business. And my kids wrestle. My husband still wrestles. He coaches. He also is the director for Central Texas for USA Wrestling. And so by default, I am a part of those environments because my kids wrestle. That's how I am in those environments. But it's a positive environment for me for sure. Doesn't mean that it's a nourishing environment. And this is why. So let me go through that framework on the different side of things. When we speak to environments just in terms of nourishment, doesn't mean it's bad. It just means that we need to supplement if we are really going to utilize this framework in a way that's going to support our wellness. It helps us determine where we're lacking, where we're deficient, and where we need to pour into to bring us back to center, bring us back to that balance where we feel vibrant, where we feel healthy, where we feel well, we feel aligned. And so this weekend we hosted a SummerSlam tournament in Salado. And so on the nourishing side of things, in a wrestling tournament, edible, well, there's not really ever access to really great nutrient-dense foods. You're getting a lot of concession foods, things like that. One, it's cheaper, right? So you're bringing more money in. You're able to contribute back to the clubs by bringing in more of the ultra-processed foods. But for me, I always know I supplement by bringing my own food in, or I'll be fasting. I typically never eat at wrestling tournaments, just for the fact that it's just not food that's going to nourish me. It's food that's going to inflame me, make me tired. So on the edible branch of nourishment, that's going to score low, probably like a 3 out of 10. All right, so let's go. On the social side of things, well, wrestling tournaments can be very overstimulating, meaning that there could be hundreds of parents and athletes, and it's very noisy, but it's definitely social because you're surrounded by hundreds of people, sometimes thousands of people in these wrestling tournaments that happen to also be indoors. So sometimes the social can be so overwhelming that people tend to disconnect because it's so overstimulating to our nervous system that sends us into a panic. And then because they're indoors, that eliminates any opportunity for biophilic nourishment inside that environment, which just means you have to supplement. So on that side of things, when I'm at a wrestling tournament, and those are long days, we set up those tournaments. A lot of times we get help out and break down those tournaments. So that could look like a 16-hour day. So I will literally go nuts if I never leave that environment. Doesn't mean it's not positive for me, just on the fact of what I know that those matches on those wrestling mats for my kids, I know that good or bad, win or lose, disappointment or victorious, it is a positive impact for our family and my kids. I'd rather have my kids learn how to lose, how to handle defeat, disappointment, setbacks, deal with challenges and adversity, and learn how to push their physical body in ways that make them very uncomfortable. But I also would love for them to have those lessons on the mat. So by the time they get their first loves or their first heartbreaks, or they get their first, let's say they feel that they deserve a job and they do not get the job. I'd rather they learn disappointment and defeat and how to develop positive coping mechanisms when they are on that wrestling mat, when they are 10, 11, 12, 13, my daughter's 16, rather than learn it when they're 20, just graduated college, and never learning the coping skills that help us build character, help us learn how to handle defeat and disappointment. So when it does come and the boyfriend or the girlfriend breaks their heart, they're going to be sad, and of course they're going to be upset and they're going to be hurt. But I hope that it's not going to take them to a place so dark and so disconnected and isolated that it leads to alternative coping mechanisms. So in itself, that is why that wrestling for me anytime is going to be a positive environment, because I know what it is teaching my kids, and in turn as their parents to be able to be a witness to that and a testimony to that, what it's doing in their lives and how it will follow them through adulthood. And then on the experiential side of things, I had an opportunity, I don't know where I fit in, right? I don't wrestle. I work concessions a lot, but I upgraded last year. So I had an opportunity to get on the microphone, and so now I MC. So that became a very experiential branch of nourishment for me. That was something I've never done. And so now I MC at a lot of the bigger tournaments. And then this weekend specifically, for the first time, this would be another opportunity to challenge myself and seek discomfort. I was able to get mic'd up and do interviews in front of the camera, which I've never done, but super excited for that experience because it got me over that discomfort, and it just kind of broke me through of like, oh, that wasn't so bad. So it just kind of forced me in the best of ways. Coming back to the biophilic, how do I supplement that in? So when I'm at wrestling tournaments, I will make space. I will even set timers where every couple hours, like I need to get up and move. I go outside. If there's grass available, yes, my shoes will come off. If the sun is out, I will be in the sun. Sometimes I will run, I will walk, I will get movement in different ways. I will breathe. I will find opportunities to be able to pour back into myself, because an environment like that is so overstimulating for anyone. The whistles, the yelling, the calling, the crying, the highs and the lows, like your nervous system just goes into absolute like panic mode. So you need to find ways to replenish and refill. So that's just one real compare and contrast in my life and what that looks like. So being in a space like Serenity in Cedar Park scored higher on the nourishment. So that means that I'll still replenish today and I'll reset, because those connections that I made also is so overwhelming in the best of ways, but yet my body still registers that as stress. So I need to find ways to downgrade, deregulate, reset. But it's not going to take me nearly as long, because I've been in a space that's nourished me in the best of ways, as opposed to when we go to wrestling tournaments, when those are like really long days, like 16-hour days that sometimes require quite a bit of travel. And then the highs and the lows, like I'll be exhausted from those. So that just means that I have to be more intentional on the next day, that I am creating a bigger space to prioritize my own physical and mental health before I prioritize the rest of my commitments. So that's an example. And this would be an example of what you're going to continue to see on this channel when I really break down spaces, places, and environments that nourish, and then being able to kind of just give examples of what that looks like to help you to be able to use this framework in a way where you can see like, okay, like I was nourished in these three elements and these three branches, but completely deficient here. How can I supplement that in the environment that I'm in or where I'm at? And then what do I need to do differently? Which could be change of cadence, change of season, change of tempo. And really all I'm saying is just determining how much time is spent in each branch of nourishment to bring you back. So ending, if I were to score a wrestling tournament on the nourishment side of things out of 50, each branch representing 10 points, oh boy, I would score it, oh my gosh, sometimes like a 15 out of 50, but not because it's not a positive experience for me, but just because on the nourishing side of things, it's just a lot of things that are just going to deplete me. And so I just need to make sure that I'm just more tactful and intentional to be sure on those weekends that we're wrestling, that I prioritize more time to refill, to replenish, to reset and recenter, so I can show up to you as my authentic self, back to vibrancy, back to feeling balanced, and back to wanting to connect in ways that hopefully inspire you. So that's your first official Tracy's Take on Wellness in terms of environments. If you're liking this, let me know. Drop me a comment or let me know what spaces do I need to visit in and around Williamson County. I'll be making trips. I will be going to these actual places and spaces and sharing differently on the scorecard of nourishment. And I thought I would just drop in and share a compare and contrast today. All right, y'all. Have a great Tuesday. I'll see you soon.